In this video, I'm going to look at a realistic 3-head reel-to-reel tape recorder. Now, Radio Shack didn't make their own product, so this is probably either going to be a Sony or a Hitachi manufactured unit. But it doesn't work. There's no tape transport, so we're going to take a look and see if we can get this one working. That's coming up next on Tech Talk. I have a 3-head, 3-speed, reel-to-reel tape deck, realistic model 999B up on my workbench today. Let's just see what it does. Okay, it powers up. Okay, so now we can see what it's doing. Could be a belt, could be idler tires that are slipping. We're going to get this thing apart and take a look and actually see who made this thing, because I have no idea who made this unit. Whether this was made by Sony or made by Hitachi. I mean, Radio Shack didn't make anything on their own. But it is a 3-head deck, so it actually should have pretty good sound. So let's see what's going on with this one, and we'll see if we can get this one going. Now, many of these tape decks, you actually remove the front cover from them. Remove the knobs and the controls, and the whole front panel will lift off. Not all, but most. Usually they're held in place by a couple of screws, and we can lift the front off of it to work on it. There's one screw down here I can see right now. Of course, these are non-magnetic screws. Should be a screw there to release that. Now, some of them I may have to take this deck out from the back, but I have to remove that screw because I have to now take the screws out of the back, and I should be able to pull the whole chassis out from the base of it here, I think. And what does it say here? It says Radio Shack, a Tandy company. Where is it made? It doesn't say. Looks like these screws have to come out too. Because they screw into the chassis. Okay. Doesn't look like anything I've seen before. I still don't know who made this thing, but there'll be a few more screws I have to take out, I think, to get the chassis to come out on this thing. There should be a few more screws down the side here that actually hold the back on. At least these ones are magnetic. And what should happen is that the wooden cabinet should lift away when I get the appropriate screws out. Yes, and then I got to do one more screw up here that holds the power cable in place. Okay, now we've got the cabinet stripped away from it. Here's our drive motor. Look at it, I'm sweating. It's hot. It's really warm here. And there should be a few more plastic screws around here, around the edges here. And I should be able to lift the front faceplate off, which I need to take off so that I can get at the belts and drive pulleys. And this is Hitachi. There's Hitachi's logo. So this is not a Sony made machine. The guy that owns it thought it was a Sony, but it's not a Sony, it's a Hitachi. One thing for sure, I knew it was not going to be a Radio Shack because, well, Radio Shack didn't make anything. At least not that I'm aware of. They always got someone else to make it. Even like their CB radios and stuff, they were all made by Uniden or GRC, General Radio Corporation. I'm probably just ticking off some servicer that's still trying to carve out a living fixing old reel-to-reel machines by showing you guys how to disassemble these things. Because a lot of these places that fix reel-to-reel machines, they are not exactly cheap. They charge a few bucks to work on these things. Okay, this should lift off just like that. There. Now we have access to the rubber idlers and belts. And looks like we have a bit of tape that's wrapped around the inside of this machine from, wonder what's on this tape. The guy that owned this used to be a radio announcer, worked in broadcast, so maybe it was a cut from one of his commercials. Who knows? Anyway, ugh. Get this out of the way first. We'll just take this belt out of here for now. The belt's not broken, which is good. These belts here aren't broken either, which is also great. This is idler driven. This is great. We'll be able to put some rubber renew on that. The reason this isn't working is because these idler tires are getting in. They're pretty hard. The belt looks to be in good shape for rewind. It's not broken or anything. So that's great news because that belt would be getting hard to get. It's a round belt. I'm not saying it's not available, but it wouldn't be cheap. I mean, a belt like this could easily cost you 50 bucks to buy one. I know that because I had to buy a belt like this for my my 3/4 inch VTR used a belt. A little longer than this, but I think I paid about $65 for that belt, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. These round specialty belts for reel-to-reel machines, they're not cheap like cassette deck belts. They're actually quite expensive. So how rubber renew works, for those that aren't familiar, it's pretty nasty chemicals in there. I'll read off some of the ingredients. Just got to get my magnifying glass on here because it's pretty small print. But it's got xylene, ethylbenzene, and methyl silicate. And basically what it does is it softens the rubber. So when rubber sits around for years, it tends to dry up a fair bit. And this stuff softens the rubber. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the power in so that I can run the motor, and then I can apply some of this stuff and let it soak in. And what it'll do is it will soften the edges and allow the rough surface of the motor to bite in. There we go. Okay, power on. And why is the motor not going? Oh, probably because I'm sitting on it. Set it up like this to do it. I'm going to have to hold up this little bar here because that's the auto stop bar. If it drops down, it's going to shut the motor off. So we'll just kind of put something around there just to hold it up. Okay. That bearing needs to be lubricated for sure. We'll just get our rubber renew in here. Now this should be making this one spin now, but it's not because the idler tire itself is quite badly worn, so we'll just rubber renew this one now. As you can see, as the shine comes off of this and it starts to get some grip, it'll start to make this wheel spin. Tape counter belt has slid down, as you can see, and we'll go to the rewind now, and we'll do the same for the rewind. Now this one won't turn because the belt's not on, and I won't put the belt on until I'm finished dealing with this stuff, because if I grip it on the belt I could damage it. It cause the belt to stretch. So we just want to get all the tires in good shape, and I'm going to lubricate the capstan shaft, and I'm going to lubricate these wheels as well, because the bearings in them are getting to be pretty noisy. But let's get the rubber parts in good shape first. As you can see, this stuff takes a lot of oxidation off. I've used it on pinch rollers before and it really works quite well. And it works really good on those rim drive turntables, like the old Gerard turntables with the rim drive. This stuff works like magic on those things. It's noxious stuff though, so you don't want to get it on your hands. That's why I was using a cotton swab there, and I was making sure that I wasn't touching it, because you don't want to get that stuff on your skin. It's not good stuff. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to lubricate the capstan shaft. It's pretty stiff. So let's tackle that part next. Probably the best way to do this will be to actually remove this whole plate so that I can get the capstan flywheel and everything out. So we'll do that by just removing some clips here, so I can get the screws out, because this whole thing is going to lift out as one block. I'm not going to adjust. I'm not going to remove the heads though, because I don't want an alignment problem. So if I just remove the main screws that mount this whole assembly, I should be able to lift this whole assembly out without affecting the alignment of the head block, because I'm not going to touch any alignment on any of these. I'm just going to lift this whole assembly out. I'm going to take off the spring here for the pinch roller. And remove the screws that hold down the plate with the flywheel attached. And the flywheel should come out. There's one more screw that I can't get at. I have to take this off. There's one more screw underneath here. So I have to actually remove this clip, lift this assembly out, should be able to swing this out of the way enough. Now should be able to lift out the flywheel. Take the capstan top off. Remove that snap ring or that sea washer, and I should be able to lift this out. I may have to take this piece out too. May be able to get to the bearing at the back of it. I can certainly get down to the front bearing. I just want to get some lubricant onto the back bearing. I may be able to get to it by just disassembling it to that point, because I've now got the flywheel off enough that I can get down here with some oil and I can get into the back. Right, I've got it separated enough so that I can get in there. The back bearing isn't going to be the problem. It's just a contact bearing. It just sits against the back. It's going to be this one here. So I should have this off enough that I can get lubricant down inside here. Okay, I got some on the capstan shaft there on the inside of it. So now, let's just see if we can push it back together. Gotta make sure I don't have any dripped on the capstan. On the flywheel. I don't need it flying off and going all over the machine after it's put back together. Much better. Goes down like that, because that's pulled down by the pinch roller. When that goes up, it releases that. Okay, that's back in position. Oops, I'm whacking the camera with my head there. Okay, that clips back in place. So the capstan shaft is now lubricated. Now I have to deal with these other bearings down here. Should be a cap on this one, I think. We'll just put a drop of oil actually onto the shaft itself. Make sure that it gets all the way down onto that shaft. Drop of oil, get it down into the bearing. Whenever you put oil onto idlers and stuff, be sure you dry up the extra. Too much oil is worse than not enough. You want just enough oil to get down into the actual bearing itself, but not to have enough that when this thing starts spinning, it's going to start spraying the oil all over the place, because then you're going to just have things that slip. And that's not what we want. We don't want things to slip. We want things that don't slip, so that it drives the mechanism, drives the pulley. This one wasn't an issue. The rewind one, I don't even think I need to bother. Maybe I will, but I don't think I'm going to need it on here anyway. But we'll just put a drop in there, let it soak in. And then again, dry up any excess so that it doesn't cause us any headaches down the road. So once again, to reassemble the unit, we'll just take the controls off. We'll replace the faceplate, the cover, and get our, oh, got a couple of these things to put on. Okay. We'll get that on first. Put this non-magnetic screw in just to hold this in place. And then I can go ahead and put the rest of the unit back together. We'll thread up a tape and see how it plays. So as you can hear, this thing's playing perfect now. Excellent sound. So this unit's now fixed. We'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.